Yes. So, am I audible to all? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. That day, I already we discussed. We have to begin the grammar with parts of speech. Although we have discussed about active and passive voice, I already gave you an assignment that you have to write on parts of speech. Have you done that? 8 parts of speech: noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Because these, you must know how to identify these parts of speech in a sentence, and you must be aware of the different parts of speech. Okay, noun you all know, pronoun you all know, noun which we use in place of a sorry, noun is a naming word. Any person, place, name, or thing, that is a noun. Ram, Sham, or Jaipur, Udaipur, Ajmer, any city's name, or any nouns are of abstract nouns as well. Common noun. So nouns are of different types. Pronouns, words which are used in place of noun. Verbs in an action word which shows an action, something what is happening in the action. Adjectives are which tell us some quality of a normally quality of a noun or quality of a noun or a pronoun, whether he is very brilliant or beautiful or tall or intelligent. So various qualities are told by adjectives. Then adverbs just tell us the way some action is being done, how something
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes.
Ma'am, screen is not visible.
Screen is not visible to you?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is visible.
Okay. Then adjective and then adverbs tell us time of an action or how an action happens, or at which place some action is happening. So adverbs tell us the way. So they like she ran fast, she danced beautifully. So what is fast, beautifully are adverbs. Prepositions which tell relationship between two nouns or between nouns and adverbs, like the laptop is on the table. So the relationship mainly between two nouns. Conjunctions which add two words or two sentences, and intersections are words which show sudden expression of surprise, joy, sorrow. So any words which are expressed all of a sudden to show your sudden feelings or emotions. In active voice, passive voice, we discussed voice is that form of the verb which tells us whether we are doing something or something is, whether the subject is doing something or has something been done to it, whether subject is acting or acted upon. I gave you that in example that I cooked food or food was cooked by me. Okay. So types of verbs, mainly types of verbs, verbs are of two types: transitive and intransitive. Transitive verbs which are followed by an object on which they act, for which the action is being performed. And intransitive verbs, they are not followed by an object, no specific object in which the action is being done, like birds fly. So action is like there is no receiver of that action, only the manner is told, and that is by adverb, like birds fly in the sky. Okay. uh, so no object in intransitive verbs. Then dynamic and stative verbs, linking verbs. Linking verbs are is, am, are, was, were. These are linking verbs. Dynamic and static. Dynamic, which uh, actually in when an actual action or expression or process is done by the subject, or stative verbs, the state of which tell a state of mind of the subject. So mainly you have to focus on transitive and intransitive verb. We already discussed about why do we passivize. I have already explained this to you. And rules to passivize, first of all, here is position of, like position interchanges. Subject's position, object is taken by object, objects uh, and object is used as subject. So and then there is change of tenses, and subject is mentioned by using by. Then I we discussed about 16 tenses in English and their helping verbs, and which helping verb is used, and which form of the verb is used followed by those helping verbs. Then I asked you to go to pronouns. Pronouns, the various, especially various forms of pronouns. Like if it is on subject's position, then that will be subjective form. If it is on object's position, then it is objective form. If it shows some possession, then that is possessive form. Possessive, and here is also reflexive form. But mainly we focus on three forms: subjective, objective, and possessive forms. I, me, mine, you, your, yours. Second person, first person, singular. It is I. Then object when it is on object form. Then me. Uh, he gave me a book. Me. Then possessive, mine. Second person is you. Possessive form is yours. Objective is you. Then third person, second person, singular and plural, it is same. Third person, singular. Third person, singular, masculine, it is he. Objective, him. Possessive, his. Then third person, singular, feminine, she, her, hers. Then third person plural, they, them, theirs. Now first person plural is we, us, ours. Because in active voice and passive voice, because you will use object as subject of passive voice. So you must know whether it is in a pronoun which is used as an object, then you must know its subjective form. Yes. In change of tenses, we have already discussed. Uh, then we have to discuss about various uh, how various types of sentences are changed from active voice to passive voice. Uh, Functionally sentences are of mainly four types. डिक्लेरेटिव सेंटेंसेस जिन्हें हम अफर्मेटिव भी कहते हैं, इम्पेरेटिव सेंटेंसेस, इंटेरोगेटिव सेंटेंसेस, एक्सक्लेमेटरी सेंटेंसेस. इम्पेरेटिव सेंटेंसेस आर कौन से सेंटेंसेस होते हैं? इम्पेरेटिव सेंटेंसेस आर दोज सेंटेंसेस which show, what does they show? Which where an order, command, request is expressed, and their grammatical. How do we identify them grammatically? We identify them grammatically. They begin with the first form of the verb. The subject is dummy. The doer of the action is hidden because they are uh, those sentences where the speaker's address to the listener is not directed. They are just a sudden sense or of request, order, or prohibition is there, but subject is not there. Subject is dummy there. It is assumed. We assume the subject. Then interrogative sentences. which show a which where a question is asked, and interrogative sentences begin with uh, they are of two types. One, those which begin with helping verbs, and those which begin with WH words. Exclamatory sentences which begin with some here exclamatory words, hooray, alas, are used, which express sudden feeling of, they just begin with intersections, and where a sudden feeling of joy, sorrow, or sadness, surprise is expressed. Now, structurally, sentences are of four types. If we go to structure, simple, compound, complex, or a mixture of compound and complex. Where like compound, where two independent clauses, one dependent, one main independent clause are used, then the structure, when we go to structure, then sentences are of four types. Now, how do we change interrogative sentences from active to passive? But here is one thing, like when we discussed about pronouns and we discussed about object. So, object is something which is very important in passive voice. Very important in passive voice in the sense that because here action, कर्म जो होता है हिंदी में जिसे कर्म कहते हैं, सब्जेक्ट एंड ऑब्जेक्ट, कर्ता और कर्म, तो यहाँ हमें कर्म की प्रधानता दिखानी होती है, दैट द एक्शन इज शोन इन प्रोमिनेंस. So for that you have to use object as subject. But objects are of how many types are of objects? Objects are of two types. One is direct object and another is indirect object. Direct object is which is direct object may be a known living thing. Some known living thing is there, like some nouns, like any items we use, mobile, book, pencil, eraser, sharpener, any and like item which is an inanimate thing, that is when we talk of items, then it is an in it is a direct object, and indirect object is a pronoun. Indirect object is uh, a personal pronoun. Okay, like she gave me a gift, she presented me a gift. So now me and gift. Here are two objects, me and gift. Me is a living thing, a living being. So me is inanimate. Sorry, me is a living being and gift is an inanimate thing. So that which represents a living being is indirect object, and that which represents an inanimate thing is direct object. Direct object is like to identify a direct object and indirect object. If we ask a question from WH word what, that the answer is a direct object. And if we answer a question from WH word whom, and the answer is an indirect object, like she presented me a gift. ठीक है, presented me a gift what was presented, a gift. So the answer from what is an inanimate thing, and that is direct object. And if to whom was was the gift presented, to me, so the answer from WH word whom is an indirect object. But either of the objects can be passivized. आप डायरेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट से भी पैसिव कंस्ट्रक्शन कर सकते हैं, आप इनडायरेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट से भी पैसिव कंस्ट्रक्शन कर सकते हैं. मेनली आपको कुछ दिया गया, आपको कोई आइटम दिया गया या आइटम आपको दिया गया, बात एक ही है. द पर्सन हु गेव इज पुट ऑन secondary position instead of showing in in prominence. So that is important. So direct object and indirect object, there are two objects and either of the objects can be passivized. You, if you use one object, if you use direct object as subject of the passive voice, then indirect object will remain as it is on its position और उसे हम कहते हैं रिटेन्ड ऑब्जेक्ट, मतलब वो अपनी पोजीशन पे रिटेन्ड एज इट इज रहता है. इफ यू यूज इनडायरेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट एज subject of passive voice, then direct object will remain on its position. So that is that we call retained. उस ऑब्जेक्ट जो ऑब्जेक्ट एज इट इज रहता है उसे हम कहते हैं रिटेन्ड ऑब्जेक्ट. मतलब अगर दो सब ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं तो एक ऑब्जेक्ट जरूरी नहीं हर सेंटेंस में. here are two objects, but if here are two objects, then one object remains as it is. So either that may be either direct or indirect. It's up to you which object you use as subject of the passive voice. So this thing you have to keep in mind, position of object. uh, to passivize, like we just took an example, like he sent me a message. ठीक है. So here are, how will you just classify the sentence in subject verb object. He is subject, sent is verb, me and a message. Me is indirect object and a message is indirect object. Me is indirect object and message is direct object. ठीक है. अब आप इनमें से दोनों में से किसी को भी ऑब्जेक्ट यूज कर सकते हो. इफ यू यूज indirect object to me as subject, then you have to change this objective form of the object into subjective form. और subjective form क्या होगी me की? Subjective form of me is I. So I was sent a message by him. ठीक है. If you, आपने अब एक ऑब्जेक्ट a message direct, which is direct object, remained as it is. When you used indirect object I, me as subject, and on subject's position it was I in subjective form. But if you use a message which is a direct object, you use it as subject of passive form, then a message was sent to me by him. Message was sent to me. So me is indirect object and it remained as it is when you used direct object as subject of the passive voice. Okay, so this way you have to change position of subject and object. If it is only one object, then here is no need to classify that into direct object and indirect object. But if you, if here are two objects, then you, from your understanding point of view, you may classify them and use either of those objects as subject of the passive voice. Okay, so it is how, it is the way objects are used, classified and used as subject. Now, yes, it is the, now when, if suppose it is an, yes, we have already just discussed about how tenses change from active voice to passive voice. Yes, models when are passivized, be is added to the model. Now, oh, yes. Interrogative sentences. Yes. Interrogative sentences, I have told you, interrogative sentences uh, begin with, like, they can begin with two type of, in two ways. One by using helping verb and other by using this models. Helping verb and WH words. So help, if in interrogative sentence begins with an helping verb in active voice, then while passivizing, that helping verb remains as it is. That does not change in the passive form. Only if, like, has and have, and then it's up to the like object. If object is singular, then has. Suppose we use, like, see sentence number 3, have you finished work? Then with you we use have, but with work, which is singular, we use has. So this thing you keep in mind. Has a singular plural, you have to keep in mind, otherwise it will be treated a wrong sentence just because of the use of wrong verb. Have you finished the work? So have verb you is subject, finished verb, and work is object. Now object is work. Now the helping verb will remain as it is, but it will be used according to the object, which will be used subject. Now object is singular, so you have to use singular verb, and that is has. स्टूडेंट्स, थोड़ा सा पावर इशू आ रहा है, लैपटॉप मेरा चार्ज नहीं है. So I guess, is it, you just